Esports highlights last forever. People always want to celebrate the greatest plays of all time. But that also means that they're always going to be there to remind the people involved of their past, for better or for worse. Being in a clip that gets shared over and over again can be one of the things that could make a player famous.
Here he comes once again. The first base is a Dren. He's going to hit the ground there. It's Cold. Oh, what? A jumping double from Cold. What is going on right now? How does he do this?
Even if that moment is uncharacteristic or a one-off or even something they'd later get revenge for.
Controller fingers turn to Twitter fingers. Damn. You getting body by Kimmy.
Oh!
Yo, talk that talk.
Then the replay
Talk
looks even better.
that talk. Look at Eduardo. Look at Moons. Talk that talk.
But for North American fighting game master Justin Wong, the past is all around him all the time, and it's not always good. Renowned for his game knowledge, rock-solid fundamentals, and never-say-die attitude, Justin won championships in multiple titles and built a legacy that'll last as long as competitive fighting games will. There's just one little problem. The biggest clip in the fighting game community, and maybe in competitive gaming history, shows Justin Wong getting absolutely destroyed.
Oh no.
Okay. I'm pretty sure a lot of people started fighting games because of this moment.
A lot has happened since Justin lost that round, but even after he grew up, had a kid, and even became a content creator, that one moment has always followed him.
Oh, he got it? You think he got it, bro? You think he Daigo? You ain't Daigo. Oh, he Daigo! He Daigo! He Daigo! No!
So who is Justin Wong, really? How did Evo Moment 37 change the public's perception of him, and how did he change along with it? And why is he spending his time getting parried by randos online with names like Oroville Redenbacher?
I know you want to get famous, bro. Come on, tell me, do it. Hey, back up. Ha! Oh my god, no, come on, it's 2020. Now you cheated.
Alright folks, before I tell you all about the incredible legend of Justin Wong, I've got to ask you to please sub to the channel if you haven't done it yet. We are really close to 2 million subs, and if you subscribe and turn on notifications, you could help us get there. Okay, so the Justin Wong of today is pretty different from the teenager who was grinding Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in New York arcades in the early 2000s. Maybe you know him because he's a purveyor of hot takes, the kind of tier list maestro.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I actually think it's whack. I actually think it's overrated. I actually think you guys are tripping on the internet.
Maybe you know him for popping the sickest barrel roll in fighting game history. Or maybe you know him because of the whole Evo Moment 37 thing. We'll get to that in a moment.
And I always tell people that I'm the Ken player.
Emotional damage.
Most people probably think of Justin in a pretty positive light these days. But that wasn't always the case. Justin has a long and storied career, and it began when he was basically a kid genius for fighting games in New York. He went on to win a world record 9 EVO titles across 3 different games. He also racked up some incredible comeback wins, which led fans to create the idea of the Wong factor.
Justin Wong! Oh my god!
But the weird thing is that despite all of his incredible achievements, for most of the esports community, many of whom don't even care about fighting games at all, Justin's name will forever be tied to a single moment in the losers finals of EVO 2004. Whether you first saw it on a dusty CRT monitor in a school computer lab in 2005, or on a modern smartphone more than a decade later on one of our top 10 lists, the climax of EVO Moment 37 literally starts with the words, "Let's go Justin."
Let's go, Justin!
Daigo's full parry of Justin's ill-fated Chun-Li super art in Third Strike was probably the first truly viral esports clip. And remember, it went big before social media. Sure, the internet existed, but Evo didn't blast out this clip on TikTok and Instagram. Instead, it was shared countless times on forums, by content aggregators like eBombs World, and on meme dumps like YTMND. And it went viral because it is legitimately an insane play.
It's really crazy that the first hit you have to do before the flash. Like, my man, you have to tap forward before the super comes out. So how did Daigo knew that I was going to super there?
Look at, oh my god, why is it before the flash?
But listen, I promise this video isn't just a deep dive into Evo Moment 37. Not really. This video is actually about how that moment changed Justin Wong's life and the course of the FGC. Because in 2022, as Justin went hard on YouTube, he experienced that moment over and over again.
Ooh, uh-oh, this is a familiar stage. This is very familiar. Let's go, Justin! Oh shit! No! Oh, okay.
Now, to be fair, even right after it happened in 2004, Justin wasn't totally crushed by this moment. Far from it. He didn't even really consider himself a Street Fighter player. His true love was the Marvel vs. Capcom series. Even getting as far as he did at EVO 2004 in Third Strike, a game typically dominated by Japanese players, was both a personal achievement and a huge moment for North America.
You know, going through the tournament, I fought a lot of Japanese players, and I'm going through them one by one, and it was feeling good. I felt like I had a lot of momentum, right? And then obviously Daigo just stopped that with the parry.
And just 2 hours after getting hit by the most legendary parry in fighting game history, Justin walked over to the Marvel 2 tournament and absolutely destroyed the competition. But Justin wasn't just a literal punching bag in Moment 37. He was also kind of hated back then for being so good at fighting games.
So he was the enemy. He was the bad guy, right? People didn't like him. Well, I mean, they liked him, but he was always the guy that, West Coast wanted to see lose and all this. Like, he was the guy that you wanted to see lose at MVC2 because he kept winning, right? You always root for the underdog.
Justin was the East Coast golden boy, so his rivals on the West Coast were talking a lot of trash.
Their jab at me was saying, oh, you're just a Marvel player. That's the reason why I would say I started branching out on other games, because I wanted to prove them wrong that I can play like other fighting games that's not just Marvel's Capcom 2.
It's probably not fair to say that Justin was widely hated or something, but especially in Marvel 2, people didn't love his defensive turtle style and how willing he was to play for time.
Everyone knows me as a lame player. I like to wait the time out. Always goes to 0 or something. And it's true, I love playing lame.
By 2004, he was facing plenty of criticism, and the West Coast fans in the EVO venue were actually cheering against him in favor of Daigo. Justin's decision to throw out a blind super was also criticized after the fact, even though no one had ever seen Chun super parried like that on the big stage.
This is kind of like rumors of like, oh yeah, like no one could parry the super, right? It's impossible to parry. You have like those little silly rumors. So that's why I always thought in my head that the super cannot be parried. This is an instant guaranteed chip damage, because parrying all those hits, it just seems impossible.
But while EVO Moment 37 has remained an important esports highlight, maybe even the most important, the narratives around it have changed a lot over time. For one thing, as more people were inspired to pick up fighting games, whether because of the clip, the release of Street Fighter 4 in 2009, or something else, the average level of play in the FGC has risen. For one thing, a lot more people can do the Daigo parry now. Between the internet being a better teaching tool for fighting games and the fact that people have had 18 years to practice it, there's a lot of fighting game players out there who can just do Moment 37 at home. I mean, fighting game pro Ryan Hart can do it without even looking. Now, to be fair, it's still really hard to do this if you aren't no-lifing Third Strike. I mean, look at our resident FGC boomer Josh trying to pull it off.
I'm going back to MMOs.
And even Justin tried his hand at it recently.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, he did it! Yes!
You see, these days, Justin doesn't enter as many tournaments. He's a dad now, and he spends a lot more time creating content for YouTube. That means he also spends a lot of time playing classic fighting games online for his content, where he inevitably runs into people who have done nothing but play Third Strike for the last 10 years and can do Moment 37 with their eyes closed.
Oh, what? My man. That's crazy, bro. 2022 is just L's for me.
A lot of these insane clips were huge on Twitter, and they just go to show how iconic EVO Moment 37 is, and just how much the public perception of Justin has changed over the years. Justin came out the other side of EVO Moment 37 a hero. He remained committed to the FGC despite all the criticisms of his decisions in that clip, his playstyle in general, and anything else about him. When he and Daigo met in EVO 2009's Grand Finals, Justin transformed. Even though he didn't win, he was the home crowd favorite.
And that turnout for EVO 2009 was like huge. A lot of people showed up, like, you know, a lot of spectators, a lot of fans, a lot of people that just wanted to try out EVO and play the tournament.
And the same thing happened in Marble 3. People loved him for playing a team that many saw was suboptimal. And that didn't stop him from pushing on.
I'm not even gonna. Oh my God! Justin takes it! He takes it! He's done it! Unbelievable!
So once it came down to like where there's actual fans and not just players now, I would say that's probably kind of where the image of me has changed, because, you know, there's a lot more fans now after 2009. That was the first time Evo streamed the FGC tournament, was that event as well too.
He might have played lame sometimes, but he clearly cared about winning, about the games he was playing, and about the community. These days, Justin is a hero to the FGC, and people recognize his role in EVO Moment 37 as something that helped the community survive. See, if you don't follow fighting games, it might surprise you to learn that when Daigo parried that super, Third Strike was considered a flawed game that was running out of time. Street Fighter 3 was a really technical, complicated game that was missing a lot of old favorite characters from Street Fighter 2. It didn't really bring in new fans. Parrying may have been hype. Actually, scratch that. Parrying was hype. But it did distort the game in some notable ways. And while EVO Moment 37 probably wasn't the only reason that fighting games survived the tough times, it was a huge help.
It revolutionized fighting games in general, because when that happened, everyone started playing fighting games more seriously again, especially Third Strike, because Third Strike was definitely a dying game in America at the time until that happened.
And that's why Justin keeps running into these randos online. They're inspired by esports' greatest moment to make him relive his tragedy.
Oh, he got it? You think he got it, bro? You think he Daigo? You ain't Daigo. Oh, he Daigo! He Daigo! He Daigo! No!
But for Justin, it's all worth it. Not only because the moment gave the fighting game community something truly special in the past, but also because it can keep doing that. It turned out that when a huge portion of the world saw how awesome fighting games were, there was another game and a new generation ready to revitalize it. That couldn't have happened without Third Strike, without the moment, and without Justin.
I know a lot of people, like, they know of me, they know Justin Wong, but there's so many players out there that a lot of people just never heard of or don't know or just never even paid attention about. And that's kind of like my goal, is to kind of like showcase that there are other like really great fighting game players out there besides like the ones that you probably know from Google, right? So, you know, they're not like household names, but like there's a lot of killers out there.
And so for the rest of us, we're gonna keep trying to parry it. Because in some small, weird way, we get to be a part of that moment. We might not be Daigo, but for a moment, we get to relive that feeling of seeing that incredible clip for the first time. It cuts to the very essence of what fighting games are all about. And as long as there are people out there willing to be tested, Justin is probably gonna keep sacrificing himself to give them the chance.
Like, why am I so scared of that, right? Oh my god, no. Oh, okay, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Perfect. Hadouken. Tatsumaki Senpukyak. It's just like the speed at which he's saying Tatsumaki Senpukyak is like impossible to understand. I never knew what he was saying until like Street Fighter 4. There's also just like, the real thing is that I need the soundboard that is just like all the times he says countries, where he just goes, England, USSR,